listening to the Adventure Party for the 3rd week of June 2023. This week, come on, it's been a long week. We didn't have time to prep. Can't you cut us a break? The Adventure Party, discussing tabletop and rare gaming the Irish way.
Welcome to the party. I'm Eoin.
I'm Liam.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Dave.
And today we are here to discuss something.
Usually why we're here.
You're at a party. It's a fine soiree. All of a sudden, the GM turns around and says, but suddenly, at the window, appears a figure in a red suit. Aha! You have come to my... At which point, the players all pull out their concealed miniguns and shoot the hell out of him, despite the fact that this is a no-weapons party. In this one, we discuss when to be a little dumb and give your poor old GM a break. So, I was thinking about this problem in terms of occasionally players will always try to make the tactically optimal decision in a situation rather than maybe going with it. You know, go to the party, there's no weapons allowed, you're only allowed to bring a dagger, and all of a sudden it turns into a strange Mission Impossible style concealing thing where what if I get a giant, back banner or my character and I conceal my spear up there, or maybe I strap my sword to my back as part of my dress. Or what if I have a big hoop skirt and in that I stick all our machine guns and we pull it out in the bag and goes, we shoot everybody.
The 3.5 item, which was literally like you had a little magical pouch in your stomach where you could conceal stuff.
Like, just in terms of the GM is trying to go, what I'm setting up here is a situation where you can't just immediately shoot the bad guy. The players go, to hell with you. We are going to shoot that bad guy. It is going to happen. And sometimes, is it just better to go, you know what, I see what he's trying to do. Let's give him this one. We don't have to be omnicompetent all the time.
I can say for a fact that not every player or even every group do the tactically optimal thing. Some go out of their way to do the tactically unoptimal thing, to the point of detriment to the party.
Absolutely.
I charged that ancient red dragon. You're level 3. This is clearly supposed to be just turn and terrify everybody. What are you doing?
Well, they're meeting their destiny is what they're doing.
But these aren't the jokesters we're talking about today.
Yeah.
We're talking about the steely-eyed people, the always ready people, always armed all the time. Have you ever had a serious argument with your player about why he isn't allowed to bring his tower shield into a fine soiree? Because I've had that argument. It's great fun. It's so much fun.
Surely I could use it for, if I pretend to be a waiter and I put entrees on it,
Or just it's cultural artifact, I'm a dwarf.
I will get over my playing devil's advocate for a moment. Yes, that sort of player absolutely is a thing. Being there myself. I suppose it's I'm a terror for context dependent answers. I suppose what is the game the game's atmosphere, tropes, setting like? Because if it's not a terribly realistic setting, then you could swing it either way. As in, the rule of cool is in effect, and bad guys always get their soliloquy off.
Well, here's the thing. Let's say you're playing Wolfrup, right? And let's say your guys are going to a fancy party, and the GM is planning on having a bad guy show up at the fancy party and give a bit of a monologue, and you can't immediately go, I pull out my Zweihander and get to hacking. You're more limited. You're not allowed to wear all your armor. You're not allowed to bring all your shields. You're more vulnerable because that, and maybe you're more inclined to, okay, let's hear what he says and let's get him later. And that's what the GM's going for. And then you immediately try to go, okay, how can we get around the fact that the GM has said no heavy weapons? And then so how do we figure out how we sneak in our heavy weapons?
I think you can kind of, as a GM, if it's your own material, and I think pre-written material always falls into this kind of trap. If the bad guy gets up and has their soliloquy, okay, that's fair enough. Like to be casting buffs or whatever while they're having their monologue. But, whatever, guys. It's a monologue. Let them have their piece. It's dramatic. That's whatever. That's fine. No casting buffs. This player rankles it a little bit. But I think where it can cross a line is player gets up and has their monologue, and while they're getting the monologue, all of their troops are moving into a tactically advantageous position. So not only are you being told, no, you can't do anything, but you're actively being pantsed while tactically disadvantageous things happening to you.
In the interest of maintaining verisimilitude, like there's absolutely ways to handle that. I mean, the first is physical threats, as in you're not allowed to bring in your Zweihander, but the host's guards absolutely do have their Zweihanders, and are looking for people who have notions of getting some shanking on.
I know players who their motto would be, "I'd rather kill 1,000 palace guards than be unarmed at a single party."
They don't get arrested any parties.
Yeah, like that. Well, there's all sorts of consequences. And an interesting example, like that's a little, well, subtle isn't exactly the word, but in the Godfather series, there is the Bocciccio clan, a mafia clan from southern Sicily, and their main selling point, as in services to other mafia clans, is their sheer bloody mindedness. As in, if you kill a member of the Bocciccios, the rest of them will come after you. They won't stop. They will use suicidal tactics to get you. So their main source of income in the series is hostages. As in, if you want to make sure that a gathering of mafia clans will go down without a hitch, you hire these lads as hostages for each family involved. And if a hair is hurt on their head, the entire clan is coming after everyone involved, and they, not caring about the financial cost or the cost in lives, they will just keep coming.
It does sort of come to one of the elements of it, and I think we covered this in a recent episode, but this kind of tactical superior or outsmart GM behavior in universes will very often come off as, well, at the very least, a social faux pas, and more likely as somewhat psychotic. Because, there are social consequences to breaching what we might call like the host's thing. And this is something that people just don't realize is like, no. It's not just that you're not allowed to, pull out your sword and point at the king. It's that if you bring a sword in front of the king, you're saying to the king that the king can't protect you at his party. And that's an insult to the king and to the institution of the crown. And these are social laws that don't come up in modern life very much, but or were very, very important to people back in, ye olde times.
And I know you're saying that, Shane, but I've seen the King's stat sheet because I read the Eberron book or whatever, and he's like a level 8 aristocrat, so I'm coming packing.
Well, even in a modern setting, could you imagine the diplomatic fallout if there was like a shootout at like an international gathering with politicians or even high level ministers or what have you?
Well, I mean, what about protesters at a coronation? We couldn't be having that. Let's get the Met to round them up.
I wouldn't be keen on the chances of any sociopathic group who did start unloading clips in the middle of a diplomatic soiree.
Look, we know that Putin's going to be the final boss, so we're just going to if we grenade him now, we can skip the rest of the campaign. It'll be fine.
But the thing is, for you to fix that as the GM, you then have to play out all those consequences, and that may be what your game becomes about, and that's always tricky. But like as a player, is there a point you go, you know what? I don't find a way to bring my armor. I don't find a way to bring my shield. Are you just disadvantaging yourself, or for no reason, or are you making the GM's life a bit easier?
I mean, I think certainly if you're playing through a pre-written game, there are obvious points at which the party is being railroaded. And yes, that can be frustrating. Like, because I remember literally playing a Pathfinder Society game where, okay, the bad guy hops into a minecart and then proceeds down the minecart. And then one of the players was like, okay, I cast Airwalk and walk down rather than going in the minecart. And it's like, these are all intelligent solutions, but it's a 3-4 hour Pathfinder game. It's a one-off splat thing. Just get in the damn minecart already.
Get in the goddamn minecart.
There are times you're getting railroaded, and is it poor writing? Sure, it's poor writing, but suck it up. You're all here to have a game.
Tell you what, you run the game and I'll try and ruin it on you. How about that? We'll make this fair.
Like, if you're running your own game, yeah, absolutely. But certainly, when the confines of Pathfinder Society, it tends to be even more kind of restricted than a lot of play, because it's supposed to be a standard experience for everybody. So, it won't have the room for, if you're running a game at home and somebody goes, oh, no, I'm not going to get in the minecart, I'll cast Fly, or I'll cast Airwalk and just walk down, then you're like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, grand, let's go with that. But, if it's a pre-written adventure and there's a chase sequence in a minecart and stuff with fixed mechanics, then suck it up.
But on cutting the GM a break, I can see players like wanting to not spoil what is obviously a carefully created setup, or I can see them deliberately trying to spoil what's obviously a careful setup.
I don't know, maybe I'm trying to cut the players too much break here, but I feel like this is one of those things where a certain type of player gets immense satisfaction over outsmarting a situation, even if that outsmarting is oh, I brought my gun to the place you're not supposed to bring a gun with my +5 hide things in pockets skill or whatever.
There is also the slightly more antagonistic player who enjoys trolling the railroading.
Yeah. Should a GM have a secret sign or code word to let people know, guys, please just go with this one, without me having to say it out super loud? Can I give you the Iggy? And you just know, okay, or we'll just go with this, guys. This makes it easier on the GM, because the GM has run the game for us. He or she deserves the occasional break.
It can very much depend on your group, because I know myself. I mean, you've seen it when we've been running through Warfrip. There's just times like the chase mechanics in Warfrip are crap.
God. Yeah.
And there are times when it's just like, and now a chase begins, and it's like, guys, like, let's just roll this out. It's part of it. Okay, you got him, grand. Okay, now we'll deal with this, because the way chases are done, it's if one person has it all jacked up their athletics, then that guy, they're getting caught. They're just getting caught, and then you can't even factor in things like at a certain XP point, the wizard just casts Fly, and then it's faster than than the guy with a horse. A bit of hand waving both sides, going, hands up, guys. This bit's gonna be naff. So how about we just get through this as quick as we can? And for me, that's fine, because it's all about maximizing the enjoyment of people on both sides of the table.
Yeah, but I mean, some of them was like, okay, I look at these rules, go, okay, someone's put 500 words into describing this chase sequence. We are not going to get to round 2 of it. It is over already. I was like, oh, that's such a shame.
Very few games I've seen have good chase mechanics. I mean,
very few. It's very difficult.
I've seen some of them implemented reasonably well in Pathfinder, because they treat it as like a team skill challenge, and very much encourages, like, well, here are the suggested skills, but creative alternatives, let people use other skills, and that's kind of fun. But like, that's taken a while for that to get there, because like the initial chase mechanics where the rogue has fun, the fighter and cleric who have no skills stand there going tum tee tum.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it is one of these things that occasionally, let's say you play very smart most of the time, occasionally doing something that's not stupid, but perhaps a little bit silly. Now, I'm not talking about basically trying to sabotage the game. I'm not talking about trying to sabotage the party or anything like that. But occasionally taking the slightly more interesting option, if you're the kind of player who doesn't, can be good, just as a basically break things up for the GM. Give the GM the occasional break. Don't be the monstrous machine of efficiency you always are. Just occasionally go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to fight you in this one. I will let this one go.
I think one of the main reasons maybe just to, if you're emulating a particular genre, like there are genres, like I'm thinking particularly of stuff like superheroes, where every so often even the big smart superheroes will just walk into a trap, either because of their egos or just because, I don't know, written by Dan Slott today or whatever.
You know what you can almost say? Sorry, I didn't get much sleep last night. How many of us in real life have had basically a long night or a long previous day or a very stressful previous day, and you just did something really dumb the next day? How many of us have done that? Like, and I think anyone goes, you know what? I didn't get good much sleep last night. Sorry, I'm just having a bad day. And I think everyone's entitled to a bad day every so often, and nobody is so competent that they never make a mistake, because they're always perfect.
Yeah. And you should probably bring that into mind when you're forging your omnicompetent Batman with a computer for a brain character.
Some of those superhero systems can actually be kind of interesting because they actually have mechanisms in them to compel people to accept this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they'll have fate aspects or some rule where it's just like if the GM can give everyone a hero point and the bad guy wins this scene, but you'll get him next time. I mean, if you get some person who's just like, well, I would automatically lose each time to build up 57 hero points and nuke my arch nemesis. Well, that's a different problem, but
That's fine, but New York's underwater now.
Oh well.
that's a price I'm willing to pay. At a certain point, you have to say to people, we're here to play a game, and playing your tactically optimal characters is meant to be in service of the game. And if a GM is using very convoluted setups that don't seem right and can be cut through the knife to butter, that's a fair criticism too. But presumably everyone is here. We can presume that everyone is here to play in the game in the genre they had, where occasionally bringing a nuke into fancy ball is a little faux pas.
And nuke is for personal defense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen one of them. It's. I was just one of the things that brought it up for me is I was watching Penny Arcade are doing a BattleTech. They're playing a BattleTech RPG and also playing Alpha Strike as a combo. And one of the players is the head of their mercenary company, and he repeatedly makes what his character thinks are incredibly savvy plays, which about half the time blow up immediately in his face. And I'm saying this is good from a generating stuff and basically amusing people at the table sort of way. He's playing a character that sometimes does something very smart, and the other side of the times is like very, very stupid. And I thought, okay, this is good. He's getting gameplay out of and entertaining the people at the table by not sabotaging everything, but basically trying to be super smart all the time and occasionally just making a hames of it. And I thought that's clever. Just not to be always kind of, he's like, okay, I'm going to take two jobs at the same. I'm going to take both sides of this job. I'm going to get paid twice. I'm so smart. And then he's like, okay, I've got to rig up this stuff and basically half blow up the other, the mechs on the other side. So we both did our jobs. Excellent. And then another mercenary company drops down to take the same job. And he's like, uh-oh, this has all gone wrong. We need to go load our shells with real guns now. We're in real trouble here. And I'm like, that's good stuff. It's like you're just giving the GM an opportunity to do something cool occasionally. Basically giving yourself not exactly a vulnerability, but giving your GM an opening for something cool to happen. And that's kind of part of it. Giving the GM a break every so often. Giving him an option to, okay, I could do something cool here. That's a good thing.
I think for me, generally, if I get into a situation like this, I'm the one who reaches out to the player as I'm the GM, and I would be sort of going to the player and saying, "Are you sure this is what you want?" And it can be tough because some people, I keep using Batman as an example, but you get off that type with like ninja characters. It's like saying, "Well, I'm hidden in the rafters, and no one can see me because I, have plus 37 to stealth," and it's just like, shouldn't you occasionally interact with the plot? That's what sneak attack's for.
Going to be pretty difficult when we try to negotiate with the trader we're here to meet.
Turns out every trader here is part of the ancient Daredevil clan.
But are they going to pop in and out of the shadows to throw in the lines and things that they want to put in on the negotiation?
Some people can be like that at times. Yeah, at a certain point, I feel the GM should not feel. I don't know if you want to be calling people out of the table because that could be disruptive, but yeah, I think it is okay for the GM to go to ask for that break. We're trying to do X, and what you're doing may fit with Y or Z in your character sheet, but I was under the impression we're here to do X, so can we maybe not sabotage that?
Yield to reason. It's never going to work.
I tend to be with people who are a little bit more reasonable, but that's something I've built up over 20 years of gaming, so I may be advantaged there.
All right. So as a GM, develop a secret sign so the players know to go with it.
Silly hat, perhaps?
And possibly anything else. I'm putting on the dumb hat. Something dumb's about to happen. Please don't make fun of me.
Have a little model train and just take it out. This is when you're getting railroaded, guys.
Choo-choo.
Maybe don't call it being dumb, I think, is the thing. Because I think that's one of the big motivations here is if I was really, really smart, I would do this. So I will do that, even though it's not appropriate. But instead, let's call it the genre emulation time. It's just like, people in this genre do this silly mistake because that's what the genre is about. Since we're doing this genre, let's do the mistake.
I wonder as well, the way some people can be very disruptive about, I'm only playing my character and they use it to be a jerk. I think maybe you should only make a bad decision on the strength of, I'm only playing my character when it will be funny or entertaining and never when it will be annoying. I think that might be the way. Hang on. My character could do something really stupid here, but it will be really funny or will be really entertaining. It won't ruin the game. It's just going to be funny. It's just going to be entertaining.
That's not a bad rule of thumb.
It's not going to blow anything up. It's not going to murder anybody. I'm just going to make myself look like a bit of a doofus.
I mean, it's something that every rogue and paladin player should have had to come to that realization at some point. I can't be a holier than thou jerk the whole time, or I can't be even conniving such and such all the time, because then no one would want to play with me.
And the main thing, of course, is that if you're doing something because it's funny, humor can be relative, and it can. It's not that you shouldn't try it a little bit, but don't do anything too big early on until you sort of feel out what the rest of the party what finds funny versus what they find, disruptive.
Well, that's it. A joke is one thing. A joke at someone's expense is a totally different thing.
Yeah, that's the big one there. At whose expense is this funny joke or this tactically awful maneuver? Like, nothing's free. There's no move or dice roll thing that doesn't have some compromise, either with tone, with efficiency, with hit points, or whatever. Everything has a trade off, and you need to figure out what are we willing to trade off to get the game you want, and that's something that both players and GMs will have to do things. That can take time. So I say that's a good reason to keep the consequences fairly limited for the first few sessions of a game so that people can feel out what they want to try and where their comfort zones are for various things. And that goes to GM as well as players.
Alrighty. Well, if you've made a stupid decision just to give your GM a break or on the contrary, have always been on your GM's case and never given a sucker an even break, come join us on our Discord or hit us up on our socials or even drop us an email. But for now, this party's over.
Thanks for listening to the Adventure Party. You can find show notes and links to things we've mentioned at www.theadventuringparty.net and on our Facebook page. You can leave comments there or talk to our Twitter account at AdventurePTY. Or you can record a voice message at www.speakpipe.com/theadventuringparty. We can also be contacted directly by email at party@theadventuringparty.net. If you'd like to be in touch with the party all the time, come join our Discord server, link in the show notes. The Adventuring Party is released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike version 3 license.
Just to throw into the notes at the end, if you're RPGing through someone's little novella and everybody's holding hand and going through the plot, that's when it's actually really fun to just wreck up the railroading.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.